What impact has the arts had on you during your time in school?
The arts have just had such a big impact on me. I'm not really sure how to encapsulate it all. It gave me a sense of confidence. It let me meet my friends. It gave me something to focus on that wasn't school. I'm not sure who I would be without arts. Kind of hard to put into words, I guess.
I definitely think being in the arts program gave me more confidence in myself. I met most of my friends that I had in high school in my choir class, and I was also in band. So both of them made me believe in myself more. And a lot of the people that I'm friends with now, I met while I was in those programs.
Hi, my name's Mara. I'm a sophomore in high school. Both the art and sports have meant a lot to me. They're both places that I can go to relieve the stress and anxiety coming from school. I've also met a lot of amazing people there who've taught me so much.
When I was in high school, I felt, the impacts of theater more vividly, but it definitely helped me become more confident as a student and allowed me to kind of be whoever I wanted to be while on stage. So we had a really incredible theater director who was super passionate about his students and allowing them a space to grow as people, but also as performers. And that helped me a ton, especially because I didn't really like high school. But I loved being in the theater, and I loved having that community and sense of home there.
How did your school treat your arts and athletic programs? Was one of the programs held on any sort of pedestal?
At my school, sports were a huge deal. I'm from Alpena, Michigan, way up north, and sports were a big deal, especially hockey. That was the big sport in my town. And even in the 80s, when there was a huge funding cut, when we actually had no busing, no hot lunches, all sports and all music programs were completely cut from the schools. The community actually raised enough money where just hockey continued. So I would definitely say that it was given priority over the music program, since it is the only one that continued during that time. And so definitely, as far as the community was concerned, sports were definitely more important.
I think at my school specifically, the treatment of arts versus sports was more fair than it is at certain schools. There was more like promotion for sports events and there was more attendance at sports events, but at least all the choir and orchestra and like theater performances were advertised and like the morning announcements, the faculty came to it. Like I felt like it was, considering what other schools I know can go through, I feel like it was a lot more fair than other schools have been.
As far as comparing the attention that was given in our schooling to the arts versus sports, I would say I was pretty lucky where there seemed to be a balance for the most part as far as attention given. They respected both the sports teams and the arts, but definitely would err on the side of honoring or having pep rallies where they could celebrate the sports a little bit more than maybe doing showcases for the musicals that were going on at the same time.
Neither of them are treated crazy well at my school. They're definitely not the priority or on the top of the list. I would say sports is definitely higher on the list than the arts department. They definitely get more funding. I don't know the exact numbers for funding, but sports is constantly getting things redone. And art has been using the same stuff and materials for a long time. I know sports teams are constantly getting new uniforms too.
If the funding for the arts program had been better, how much of a difference do you think that would have made?
So as far as looking at the funding, that also was echoed as far as the sports were typically given a larger funding program and a lot of financial support, Whereas I remember during our musical, my senior year, we would go around and ask for donations and do countless fundraisers just to make sure that everybody that was involved could have, appropriate costumes, which was always disheartening because you would see the football team with brand new uniforms on that they didn't have to necessarily do fundraisers for, but we had to struggle and piece together whatever we could find to make work, which ultimately probably made us more resourceful people. So there's benefits in that, I guess.
I was really fortunate because we did have enough funding where we always had nice uniforms that were paid for by the school. We were given one when we entered the program, and we didn't turn it in until the end of our senior year when we were done with the program. So we were very fortunate in that regards. And we always had money for music. We did go on trips to like state festival and stuff like that. It was paid for. Certainly, if it had been worse, I think that there would have been a lot of people in my area that would not have been able to participate. You really miss out if people are not able to participate. And so I think it's important to have that good funding to open it up for as many people as possible. So it would have been really unfortunate if that was not the case. I think as far as better funding, our school only had one play/musical per year. They alternated between a play and a musical, and they did the play one year and then the musical the next, and that had to do with lack of funding. Also because of lack of funding, I never even knew about there being a musical until my senior year. So if I feel that if there would have been more funding, they would have been able to advertise more and get the word out more, and maybe I would have participated. I mean, I would have loved to have been able to participate, and I just never even knew that it existed. So that's something, an opportunity and an experience that I missed out on when I was in school, just because I didn't know it existed. But I think that with better funding, they would have been able to get the word out better, been a little more organized. Our drama department would have had probably a little more help and been able to share that more with more people, and maybe even been able to do a play and musical every year, kind of like what we were lucky enough to have here in Kalamazoo.
Arts is entirely limited by what they can do with funding. With funding, they could put on better choir concerts, they could do better orchestra concerts, they can put on better theater performances, they can do so much more, not just at the school, but in the community. So I think more funding would be instrumental. It could change the game entirely.
Any concluding thoughts to add?
In the medical field, I think music has a calming effect on people, and we actually had a patient that did not want to have their blood drawn, for example, and the way we actually got her to calm down and have her blood drawn yesterday was I sang to her. So I actually use it in my job, which has absolutely nothing to do with music. So it's something that can be used throughout our lives, and I think that is something that is invaluable.
As far as thinking of, the impact of arts and theater and being an educator myself, I think it's more important than ever to keep this creative energy alive, especially in these times of isolation and trying to teach digitally. It feels next to impossible to really get those creative feelings and be able to express them, especially when you're talking to a screen 99% of the time. There's that lack of human connection and communication that, the arts have taught me and that I've learned to value. And I hope that, others start to see the value that can come with being involved in the arts and supporting them.